The Tiger's Wife by Tea Obreht. So the book is it's 3 stories, and this is what I think she does so well. Is she braids, intertwines is too much of review speak, but she just braids these 3 stories together in such a magnificent way. One is the story of a young doctor, and the other 2 are stories about her grandfather and his stories that he's told her.
Those 2 stories, that's the story of the Tiger's Wife and the story of the Deathless Man, are 2 really powerful, poignant stories that inform the rest of the book. And there are stories going on in the present tense of the book, too.
I love the stories within stories within stories, and the structure is amazing and very well thought out. Even though there are so many stories within stories, the entire action of the book only takes place within one day, and it's set in an imaginary country that looks a lot like the Balkans, or that is in the Balkans. But we never know the country's name. You just know that it's at war with one of its neighbors. And I think that adds to the mythical fable part of it.
I think her writing is fantastic. It manages to be really, really beautiful without being Baroque. She uses language absolutely to her advantage, but it is simple. It's not overwrought.
Everything necessary to understand my grandfather lies between 2 stories, the story of the Tiger's Wife and the story of the Deathless Man. These stories run like secret rivers through all the stories of his life, of my grandfather's days in the army, his great love for my grandmother, the years he spent as a sergeant and a tyrant at the university. One which I learned after his death is the story of how my grandfather became a man. The other which he told me is how he became a child again.
By the time I was 13, the ritual of the tigers had become an annoyance. Our way home from the zoo was continually marked by encounters with people I knew. Friends, kids my own age.
Sure, I watched him with a smile I couldn't categorize. And then he turned to me. "I've no more time to waste with you. I got a body somewhere under here that needs to come up so my kids can get better." He turned, dragging the shovel. "That sound acceptable, Doctor? My kids getting better?" I watched the thin lines of his hair, slicked back across the bare parts of his head, as he descended, trying to find his footing on the gravel. "I don't understand," I said.
The Deathless Man takes the pipe of the nargila and begins to puff on it slowly, and big, thick clouds of smoke are rising out of his nostrils and mouth, and he looks very content sitting there with the blasts rocking the valley at Marhan. I must be looking pretty stupefied at all this, because he asks me, "Is something wrong?" I shake my head and he smiles. "Do not worry about the price, Doctor. This is my treat. It is important, so important, to indulge in these pleasurable things. My God, I say to myself, now it has come to this, my last meal, and with a Deathless Man at that." And that whole scene in the restaurant is my favorite parts of the book. But it's near the end, so you'll have to read the book to get there.
And then I came to the end. And when I came to the end, it looked like this. Oh, that was so good.
This is a book that I'll be recommending to everyone I know. It's literary, it's beautifully written, but it's also a really great story. As you read it, you just want to find out what happened. And even though the language is beautiful and there's a lot going on, there's mystical stories, there's stories upon stories, you never get confused, and you always know where you are, and you care about the characters a lot, and you just are on an adventure with them. And I just can't think of one person who won't love it. So.
I'm tempted to say it's for everybody. It's for everybody who really likes a good story well told. I think people are really going to want to talk about Tea. People are really going to want to talk about The Tiger's Wife.
I will absolutely read it again, and I so envy people's first chance at reading this. I read it in a day and a half. I couldn't put it down, and I'm so jealous of those of you who get to experience it now for the first time.